Hi, everybody. This is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and these are your horoscopes for March of 2019. So this is the Sun and Rising Sign horoscope for Libras. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. So first of all, the month gets started right out the gate with a pretty powerful square from the planet Venus to the planet Uranus between your 4th and 7th houses. So very powerful way to start the month. Venus, of course, represents harmony, friendship, love, beauty, agreement. And so Uranus, which is a planet that represents disruption of the status quo, inventiveness, but also unpredictable, erratic behavior, may be, and it's in the 7th house of your relationships, square to Venus, another planet associated with relationships. Of course, Venus is in the house of home and family. So you might see some shakeups around relationships in the home, relationships with family members, sort of the domestic sphere of life, but also with loved ones or potentially with friends or in relationships in general. There may be some surprise, some kind of unexpected shakeup, and a general feeling of wanting to defy the status quo, just in general, just a bit of a shakeup around those themes. So Venus-Uranus to start the month. Now, as the month continues, the next significant transit is on the 6th. This is a huge full moon lineup in Pisces in the 6th house. The new moon is conjoined with Neptune and also with Mercury. And this is basically you have a quadruple conjunction or a triple conjunction, Sun, Moon, Neptune, plus Mercury's turning retrograde in that sign. So in general, what I'm telling people about this is that it has the potential to be a very otherworldly month. Neptune connects us to that which is beyond and seeks to dissolve existing boundaries into underlying wholeness or unity. So those themes will be very pronounced. However, in the 6th house, a house that's associated with misfortune, sort of aggravating or events that kind of interrupt our flow, disturb or disrupt the peace, so to speak. It's associated with sickness. It's associated with conflict. So it was called the house of misfortune and the joy of Mars traditionally. And so we look at this house and we say, okay, so the desire to dissolve differences into underlying unity when placed in this house could be a little bit difficult. For example, your efforts could be stymied because things just keep falling apart. So the tendency to feel a little emotionally overwhelmed this month, the potential to feel like your efforts are falling apart or dissolving, to feel a little weighed down, to get the cold or that kind of stuff wouldn't be surprising to me. I think Libras have maybe the most difficult horoscope of the month, simply because that pull of Neptune in the 6th, the house that's typically we're laboring with things in the 6th, or we're just struggling to get through something, and it's oftentimes a little, it's a little chronic. It comes and goes. Right when we think we feel okay, then it comes back. A little bit of an interrupting energy from the stellium of planets in Pisces in the 6th could be quite emotional. You might have a hard time also getting through it just because Mercury going through the retrograde with Neptune, especially from the 24th through the 29th of the month, it'll be going back and forth around Neptune a lot as it turns direct. And so you will have some help from Venus later in the month. Between that 24th and 29th time period, Venus slides into the 6th, and you get the feeling that things are going to come out okay, but some confusion, some chaos, some misunderstanding. Not the time to be getting into gossipy situations with people that you work with or your friends or family members. Avoid petty conflicts. They'll probably become much more complicated on an emotional level than you will want. So I would be careful of all that. And don't be surprised if you're kind of feeling your way through the fog a little bit this month. Probably towards the end of the month, 24th to 29th, you'll start to see things turn around, especially on the 29th when Mercury turns direct. I do think, because of Venus moving into that Pisces, that's her exaltation toward the end of the month, things could lift quite a bit because of that as well. Venus brings good fortune. So I think there may be a silver lining in some of the irritations that you're dealing with this month, or some of the feeling of overwhelm or even exhaustion, or just, again, just getting slogged into things, feeling like you're losing your healthy sense of boundaries a little bit. But I think that there's the potential for beauty, otherworldly inspiration, and even almost a romantic energy that's there with you in the trenches that could bring something good along the way. Now, the next transit that's unavoidable is Uranus entering your 8th house. That's why I said it's a difficult month for Librans. The planet of, again, sort of erratic but possibly emancipatory energy. I mean, it frees you even if it's disruptive. Is entering the 8th house of death, right? It's a house that's related to endings. It's related to fear and anxiety about the future. Not exactly a fun house either. But the result of doing our 8th house work in life is that we recognize impermanence, and we're not as tempted to get so deeply involved in things that we know eventually are going to end, or probably sooner than we want to. So the 8th house will liberate you from different kinds of emotional and spiritual bondage. Karmic bills come due in the 8th house. You have to pay them. It kind of sucks. But the result is that you deal with a little less of that sense of, what do I need? What do I have to have? What am I attached to? Otherwise, I'm scared. And if we can remove a little bit more of that in life, usually we're feeling a little bit better. So Uranus has the ability to help it's going to help to start liberate you from unhealthy fears and attachments over the next 6-7 years now. So watch for that shift right around March 6th. Then you go forward and you're getting into another challenging transit. This one's productive, at least. Mars in Taurus in the 8th house, working through trines from the 14th to the 19th to Saturn and then Pluto in the 4th house of home, family, roots. Your work, this is potentially very productive. Like Mars, Saturn in a trine, you get shit done. Sorry to curse. Mars, Pluto in a trine. You go deep and you find the ability to you find that extra gear, basically, and your ability to kind of assert your will and get things done, and hone in on your discipline and your focus, and it has that kind of real intensity behind it. And again, Earth signs, very practical, you can do things with this. But 8th to 4th house, again, you're dealing with heavier territory and more emotionally vulnerable territory as you're working in the roots, the home, family, domestic sphere of life. So watch for that time to be productive, if not a little deep and intense, 14th to the 19th. So let's see here. Then on the 20th, it's the last big one of the month, you're going to see the sun enter the, almost forgot to add Chiron. Let's get Chiron in there. So you're going to see on the 20th, 21st, that the sun goes through the gateway of the spring equinox, conjoins with Chiron, the wounded healer, in the house of relationships, a moment of revelation, insight, healing, initiating something in relationships to others. Full moon in the 1st house, the balance between self and other really pronounced at this time. So, and then you can see at the exact same time, Venus and Mars, rulers of your 1st and 7th houses, the kind of masculine and feminine, are in a square with one another, which suggests, again, a moment of deeper sexual, creative, or relational tension, potential to be really dynamic and I think fruitful, but there may be some healing and touching on some of the more painful areas along the way with the sun conjoining Chiron. So that's it. I already mentioned the 24th through the 29th when I started off talking about Neptune and all of the transits there. Should be a very mystical, magical month with some deeper work being done for Librans. I'm especially curious to know how Librans are doing this month, since I feel like this is, I always have one sign every month. I never usually say it, but one sign where I'm like, oh man, that one looks a little bit rough. And if it's my own, from time to time it is, then I've come to realize that you can usually see at the start of a month which signs seem to be getting the more difficult transits, and it usually bears out. But my experience also is that the most difficult transits are usually my best months, because even though the month on paper looks like hell, the inner work that we do can be just tremendous. So let me know how you're doing. I'm heading out to India later this week, and I'll be back in March. And so that's why I'm putting these out a little bit early. I hope you have a very beautiful month ahead, and I look forward to talking to you guys again in April for April's horoscopes. Okay, take care. Bye.